Hey, what's up, family? What's up? What's up? This is Chief Kalinago. I'm back as promised. I got another video for y'all. We're gonna do some reading. It's a little bit of reading, but it's not a whole lot. I doubt it's gonna be a 3 hour video, but we do have some reading to do. So let me just make sure. Give me a second. Let me check my audio on Facebook. Give me 1 second, please, 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 please. Give me 1 second. Alrighty. Give me 1 second here. Let me make sure I got audio on Facebook while I give you guys some time to tune into this build. Okay. Give me 1 second. And guys, do me a favor, please share this link on your perspective or your respective rather platforms. All right. This is all about, educating and sharing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we definitely got to get that information to everyone. You know what I mean? Our story has to be told. All right. Not from this, ridiculous perspective of his story, but we got to find our truth and start telling our truth. All right. And that's what I'm about. Okay. All right. Okay. Facebook is good. Let me go to YouTube. Give me a second. All right. YouTube is good. All right, guys. All right. So we're going to do a little reading. Okay. We're going to talk about a few people that you may or may not have heard of, but the purpose of a lot of these videos is to debunk, the lie about us coming here on slave ships. Okay. But yes, a lot of old people became enslaved, all right, on land. So, but the whole purpose is to debunk the whole transatlantic slave trade in the magnitude that it was told. All right. So in this build, we're going to talk about Norbert. We're going to talk about Jan. We're going to talk about a young lady, young sister named Grace. All right. So let's get into that. Let's get into that. Let's get into that. All right. Our site is www.ipnan.org, and we are an organization that's been put together for us by us, to teach our people and also stand on our rights as the original people of the land. Okay, so we have a whole lot more to come. Okay, we will also soon we're working on a few things where we are going to open up, membership so that we're able to unite under one umbrella. Every other ethnic group, they have done that, they're still doing it, and they have organizations, that represent them. But no one is presenting us on a whole. Okay, we are being presented under all these color of law titles, such as African American and Black and all these different colorful terms, okay, which we are not. All right, so this is about putting us in our proper perspective so we could stand and claim our birthright. All right, so let me go ahead and start off with Norbert, and let's get into this build. All right, let's get into that. If you guys are ready, okay, let me know. Go ahead and type some eights, the number 8 in the chat. And before I even get deep into anything, I definitely want to acknowledge the great spirit, universal intelligence, the great I am, the universal all, what we call God. Okay. And also acknowledge and honor my ancestors, because without them, none of this will be possible, because I reach out to them for guidance and knowledge. Okay. And I knock on their doors and they answer, so to me, that's beautiful. So, and I always ask them to protect me and know that any weapons formed against me will not prosper. And anyone who makes an attempt to hurt me intentionally, I do not forgive. And I definitely put them in the hands of my ancestors to deal with them in the most crucial way. That is just my nature. I'm like nature. Okay. So I do not forgive. Okay. But let us get into this build. All right. So we're going to talk about Norbert Rilliex. Okay. Some of you may or may not have heard of him, but he's definitely a lot of our story, is not being told. It's being buried in the annals of history, because history is normally told by his story from their perspective. Okay. And the goal is always to make us look, less than. Okay. Not equal or more, but always less than. And if by now you don't realize that's done intentionally through the educational system, then I think you need to start rethinking, okay, our position in our ancestral land. Okay. So Norbert Rilliex, I'm going to read from two different um, articles. I'm going to read one from this article that you're seeing, acs.org, and I'm also going to cross-reference that with Wikipedia. I like to do that to look at it from different perspectives because some of them may give a little more than the other. Okay, so Norbert Rilliex and the multiple effect evaporator. Okay, National Historic Chemical Landmark, dedicated April 18th, 2002 at Dillard University in New Orleans, Louisiana. All right. Commemorative booklet PDF. Norbert Rilliex, 1806 to 1898, widely considered to be one of the earliest chemical engineers. Now, all right, well, let me finish the sentence first because I get so excited. I literally interrupt myself. I got to stop being rude to my own self. So let me go ahead and just read the first sentence and then I'll make my commentaries, okay? Guys, I'm just always hyped when I'm talking about us because I love us so much because I know how great we are, okay? I know how incredible we are as a people, but, the society that we live in, it is not allowing us to live our greatest potential because it was done intentionally. And that's why we have to create our own, okay? That's why we have to create our own, all right? But anyway, Norbert Rilliex, 1806 to 1894, widely considered to be one of the earliest chemical engineers, revolutionized sugar processing with the invention of multiple effect evaporator under vacuum. All right, now let me stop here for a second. Let us look at this date, 1806 to 1898. Now, okay, slavery was officially abolished in the United States in 1865, right? So with that being said, do you think that someone in 1806, if slavery was, if every so-called black person or individual was a slave, do you think that this gentleman would be considered, okay, to be one of the earliest chemical engineers, but yet still you were a slave, right? Walking around, getting beat up, being, you got chains on your feet, you know what I'm saying? Eating out of cans. I mean, like, again, like when when that's what we want to expose our children to, you realize, the complex, the inferior complex that children will develop. Okay. And once they start, that's all that the lens that they see themselves is through the lies, okay, of such degradation. What do you think is going to happen? They will not aspire to be anything greater except to be self-destructive. Now, not every child is like that. Well, some children may look at it from a different perspective, right? Oh, well, you say I came from this, I'm going to show you I could be better than that. Now, that's a great approach. But a lot of people don't aspire to be anything greater because they were told, or we were told, we came from the bottom. You did. All right. Somebody said, Chris Johnson said, in order to be a scholar of that degree, you need a lot of free time. Family, I'm going to tell you this, okay? I know this is my calling, okay? So I haven't had a job in years. You see what I'm saying? And thanks to my personal family and friends, who help support me financially, and as you could see, I mean, I have the site, I have a link to support, and people don't support. I mean, really, it's one or two people that do. But I've been through that before. I know how people's mentality are. Okay, they like to take, and never give. Okay, I spend hours and hours and days studying to bring this information and research to everybody. I don't think I should be on here telling somebody, well, hey, you know what? Go to the website and support the Cash App or support the Zelle. I shouldn't have to do that because I do it because I know you don't have the time. And somebody needs to do it. I was just one of the people that was put in the position to do it. But I've been through that, where people think, you know what? They, you owe them something if they donate something to you, not realizing the amount of work that you're putting in. You guys just don't know. All right. I spent literally the entire day putting all my research together, you know what I'm saying? I have not just a drive, but I have a book with different topic and names that I have to go through and bring to you guys. And each one that I go through, I cross it out. I'm really organized with the information that I got to bring. It's just that if something just happened to hit me at the spur of the moment, you know what I'm saying? Then I have to go look for that extra, research. But everything that I'm doing, literally, I have all that stuff already put aside. You know what I mean? So I'm glad Chris said that. It takes a lot of free time. I don't have free time, family. Okay. My time is priceless. Okay. But I feel that it's my duty, it's my purpose to do this. It would be great if my people that I'm giving this information to would reciprocate and go to the site and support. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm just saying, but I'm still going to do it regardless. Okay. So I appreciate Chris for acknowledging that. All right. Oh, well, I tell people like this, Chris. I tell people I want you to use me. You see, we have a misconception, or the wrong misconception, or the idea of use or use. I want people to use me. I just don't want people to abuse me. Because what use am I, or what good am I to you if you can't use me? What good are you to me if I can't use you? So when we speak of those things, we have to put them in their proper context, all right? And know from what energy, all right, or vibration or frequency that we are asking people to use us. I want people to use me, because if you couldn't use me, that means I am useless. However, I don't want people to abuse me. All right. And it comes off as a form of abuse when I'm always on here giving and nobody's giving back. Now that's abuse. You see what I'm saying? But I do it anyway. But I don't like people abusing me. You see what I'm saying? But I do want you to use me. Okay. So it's all good. All right. So let us get into this. All right. So Rilliex-Grace scientific. Now, like I was saying in 1806, right? If we were all slaves and we all came from slave ships, it's pretty incredible. Okay, while slavery is going on, this man is supposed to be on the field working. He is one of the greatest chemical engineers. You see what I'm saying? So I'm giving us this information to debunk a lot of these lies and misconceptions about our people. I want us to see how great we are. I want us to see how intelligent we are. I want us to see how much wisdom we had. And I want us to see that we built this. Okay? We built this. And we haven't been compensated for what we did. So Chief Kalanago is coming from a different perspective. Because I've seen what everybody else did and they failed, or they're still fighting to get what's due to us. You see me, I don't fight. I move strategically. And I already know victory is already ours because I got a whole different approach. All right. So I'll just leave it as that. Okay. But we're looking at the date. You see, dates are very particular and they're important because you have to cross-reference that with the stories that are being told about us. Okay. Now, let us look at another date, which we have already shown many, many times, right? Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary. It gives you a description, or it gives you a definition of an American. So if in 1828, slavery was rampant all over the United States, how is that Noah Webster is coming to tell you while slavery is going on? Well, guess who the real Aborigines are? Come on, family. Sometimes we just got to think. Use your own mind. And that's all I'm saying. Okay. Rilliex' great scientific achievements was his recognition that at reduced pressure, the repeated use of latent heat would result in the production of better quality sugar and lower cost. Okay, so even if sugar was refined from the raw sugar, which is the brown sugar, to a white sugar, even in white sugar, you have the footprints of a so-called black man. There is nothing that we don't have our stamp on. And y'all better recognize that. Okay? One of the great early innovations in chemical engineering, Rilliex' invention is widely recognized as the best method for lowering the temperature of all industrial evaporation and for saving large quantities of fuel. And that just wasn't done only for sugarcane. That became worldwide, okay? In the industrial evaporation, I mean, I'm just saying, all right? Norbert Rilliex, chemist and engineer, all right? That's him on the right side. Obviously, if somebody see him, okay, they're going to say, oh, well, that's a white man. Well, no, he was a biracial child, okay? He was a biracial child, okay? Back then, they would have called him a mulatto, all right? And just so you know, mulatto, all right, in different eras meant different things, okay? A mulatto wasn't always a so-called black and white mixed child, okay? If an African married an Aborigine, that was also considered, or had a child with an Aborigine at certain times, that was also a mulatto. Mulatto only became popular of being identified as so-called white and black mix. No, before that, it was just any other group that intermixed, okay, with an Aborigine was considered a mulatto. All right, I want y'all to know that. Okay, so Vincent Rilliex was an inventor himself who designed. Hold up, let me see. No, I gotta go back a little bit. Give me a second here, guys. Let me digress here for a second and start over. Norbert Rilliex, chemist and engineer. The birth record on file in New Orleans City Hall is spare. Norbert Rilliex, Caudron Libre, natural son of Vincent Rilliex and Constance Vivant, born March 17th, 1806, baptized in St. Louis Cathedral by Pierre Antoine. Vincent Rilliex was an inventor himself who designed a steamed operated press for baling cotton. He appears to have had a long relationship with Constance Vivant, a free woman of what? Color. Now, once again, they will not tell you she was an American Indian. They will not tell you she was copper-colored, definition of Noah's 1828. So they just say, you know what, woman of color, but she wasn't a slave. So let me ask you a question. How in heaven's name we all came from Africa on slave ships? Why isn't BET talking about that? Why aren't your radio stations talking about that? Why aren't they teaching that to our children in school? But no, they want us to think that we came, okay, in the bottom of slave ships, packed like sardines. That's what they want us to continuously teach our people. Well, I'm here to tell you, we are great. We are magnificent. We are superb. We are strong people. We are innovative people. We are trendsetters. If you don't believe me, go look at the world right now. They do everything we do. There's nothing new under the sun. It has always been that way. And like I told y'all before, more proof that every colonizer who came here, they had to have children with our women. Why? Because our women, they was the heir to the land. Hereditary was passed down through the woman. We operated through a matriarchal society. Sometimes even the men would take the name of the women, just in case y'all didn't know that. That's why another reason I'm back teaching, because I want to uplift everybody. But particularly, I want our women to learn that information because they are the ones birthing the nations. And if they're lost, the children will be lost. If they're lost, the men will be lost because our women, they were our backbones. Even after society broke us down, our women held us down, well, held us up. Let me rephrase that because we have to be mindful with the word or the words. We are always looking for a woman to hold us down. No, I don't want no woman to hold me down. I want my woman or women to hold me up, not hold me down. Be mindful with the words. Okay? The use, and once again, let's read this. He appears to have had a long relationship with Constance Vivant, a free woman of color, and one of their sons. Norbert became what is now called a chemical engineer. It wasn't even called that back then. Okay? The use of the father's surname, again, you hear that surname, not last name. Because back in the days, the surname, okay, it indicated what family you came from. In today's day and age, it's called your last name because why? They want to put your family last and not your family first. Now you become a legal entity. But I've already mentioned that, so no need to beat the horse on his head, all right? Now, the use of the father's surname and baptism in New Orleans Cathedral indicate the paternity was publicly acknowledged, all right? As a boy, the precious Norbert showed an interest in engineering, and his father sent him to France for his education. By the age of 24, Rilliex was an instructor in applied mechanics at the École Centrale in Paris. Around 1830, Rilliex published a series of papers on steam engines and power. While in France, Rilliex began working on the multiple effect evaporator. As George Meade, a sugar expert, wrote in 1946, the great scientific contribution of which Rilliex made was in his recognition of the steam economics, which can be effected by repeated use of the latent heat in the steam and vapors. What Rilliex did and what became the basis for all modern industrial evaporation was to harness the energy of vapors rising from the boiling sugar cane syrup and pass those vapors through several chambers, leaving in the end sugar crystals. Rilliex evaporator was a safer, cheaper, and more efficient way of evaporating sugarcane juice than the method then in use, the Jamaica train. In this system, teams of slaves ladled boiling sugar juice from one open kettle to another. The resulting sugar tended to be one of low quality since the heat in the kettle could not be regulated and much sugar was lost in the process of transferring juice from kettle to kettle. Some Louisiana sugar planters quickly understood the significance of Rilliex' invention, and he returned it to New Orleans in the early 1830s. Mind you, guys, while slavery was still in boom, right? Because remember, slavery was officially abolished in 1865, right? Now, years that coincided with a sugar boom. Rilliex tinkered with his invention over the next decade, and in 1843, he was hired to install an evaporator on Judas Benjamin Bellache's plantation. Benjamin, a Jewish lawyer who later served as a Secretary of War in the Confederacy, became Rilliex' staunchest supporter in Louisiana sugar circles. Benjamin wrote in 1846 that sugar produced with the Rilliex apparatus was superb. Okay, like I said, we are superb. Okay, the equal of the best double refined sugar of our northern refineries. The success of his evaporator apparently made Rilliex, according to a contemporary, the most sought after engineer in Louisiana, and he acquired a large fortune. But while his invention no doubt enriched sugar planters, Rilliex was still under the law. A person of what? Color, who might visit sugar plantation to install his evaporator, all right, but who could not sleep in the plantation's house. Family, once again, I keep telling you, it doesn't matter how much money you have, as long as you are being controlled and governed under the color of law, aka Black, African American, Negro, a slave from Africa, then guess what? You are being governed under the color of law. And I just hope my people get this. Let us give them back their Black History Month. Let us give them back their Black identity. That ain't us. I don't care how much money you got. As long as you are considered to be under the what? The law, a person of color that still exists today. It came from the Christian Black codes. The color of law, family. That's a dangerous status to be under. That's why the jails are filled with so-called black people, because they are a color. Not because of the violation, but because they say that they are a color in a crayon box. All right, let's proceed. And I got a little hype here for a second because I keep pounding that in my people's head. Y'all got to stop putting all these memes and all these things on your Facebook page. Oh, Black Lives Matter with your face in the middle. What part of you is black? Huh? You have adopted the curse of the pale man because black means pale. And you wonder why you can't see your way out. It is because you have accepted the curse. You called it upon yourself. Give them back their Black History Month. That's not our month. But they got you emotional. It's an emotional attachment. So a lot of you don't want to let it go. But let's proceed. Nor for that matter could a man of Rilliex accomplishments be expected to stay in slave quarters. Some planters, it appears, provided Rilliex with a special house with slave servants while he visited as a consultant. Okay, so he wasn't good enough, okay, to stay in the big houses, right? So they had to give him his own little quarter with some slaves. But he was too good to go with the peasants. You see what I'm saying? Isn't that the same thing in society today? Look at Hollywood, right? They're good enough to play certain roles, but they're not good to create their own Hollywood. Family, there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Okay? As the Civil War approached, the status of free blacks deteriorated with the imposition of new restrictions on the ability to move about the streets of New Orleans and other draconian laws. Okay, draconian laws. Like I keep telling y'all, man. This is what we're gonna do. Let me give you a little technique. I've showed you guys this before, right? Whenever you're doing research or you're studying, right? If you see a word or a phrase that you don't know, okay, you don't necessarily have to go type it in. All you have to do is highlight that and right-click on the phrase or the word and then search for Google. And you're gonna do a search, and it's gonna come up in another window. All right, just giving you guys a little technique. All right, so you could use that as well. All right, okay. Draconian laws, traditional Athenian law, allegedly introduced by Draco in 1621. The Draconian law were most noteworthy for their harshness. They were said to be written in blood rather than ink. Death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. Okay, now you see why. When you are being governed by the color of law, you are being governed on the draconian laws because you are dead in law. Now, you know what? I think I have to share my screen and let you guys see that visually, even if I'm reading it out. Okay, I want this to make an impression on you, because I want you to see it with your own eyes. Okay, so let me share the definition real quick. Even if I read it, I'm just going to share it. Okay, draconian laws. Here we are. Okay, here we are. Draconian laws. Traditional Athenian law code, allegedly introduced by Draco circa 1621 BCE, right? The draconian laws were most noteworthy for their harshness. They were said to be written in blood, okay? Guess whose blood, right? Rather than ink. Death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. And guess what? Anything could have been considered a criminal offense as long as it went against the codes. Even today, they call jaywalking a criminal offense. Even today, they call a traffic ticket sometimes a criminal offense. You have to understand, family, what system that we are living in. Okay, we are living under Roman laws, family. I just want y'all to know this. Let me see. I just did that. Norbert Rilliex. Okay, good. I think that's where we were at. Okay. So let us go back to Norbert Rilliex and let's just continue to read some more. It was about this time that Rilliex moved back to France. Race relations may have played a part in his decision. At one point, Rilliex became incensed when one of the applications for a patent was denied initially because authorities mistakenly believed he was a slave and thus not a United States citizen, a citizen of the United States. Okay, remember, at one point, even if we are and were Aborigines, American Indians, the United States was an establishment, a corporation established on our land, and everyone was still considered an illegal alien until 1924, when the United States made all the American Indians citizens or through naturalization. Okay, so just letting y'all know that. Okay, the declining profitability of the sugar industry in Louisiana also may have been a factor. In any event, in Paris, Rilliex developed a passion for Egypt. In 1880, a visiting Louisiana sugar planter found Rilliex deciphering hieroglyphics at Bibliothèque Nationale. Rilliex died in 1894 and was buried in the famed Paris cemetery of Père Lachaise. His wife, Emily Carcou, lived comfortably for another 18 years. Okay, so that was one perspective of his story. Okay, I put all that stuff in the link for you guys, so you could go ahead and read on that yourself. I'm just going to do a little bit of reading about him on Wikipedia, so we could I'm not going to read the entire thing, just to give you a little perspective from a different source. Okay, from a different source. Let's go here. Okay, here we are. Norbert Rilliex. Okay, I think I want to see if I could go down. Let me see earliest. What I want to do, I want to emphasize on family and early life. That's what I want to focus on, because I like to go to, that's why I like to go to Wikipedia sometimes to look at the early life. It gives you certain information that the articles don't give you. So we're just going to start with early life, and we're just going to read just that one paragraph. Okay, now, early life. As a Creole of color, Norbert Rilliex had access to education and privileges not available to lower status of what? Free blacks or slaves. Now, family, I have to keep stressing that. That's why I take the time and go in detail and go to this different point of reference. Okay, so we could kind of like start putting these terms in perspective: slave and free blacks and free man and enslaved. Okay, because they became slaves, it doesn't mean they came here. Okay, and when Martin Luther King finally realized what was going on, he said what? This Negro became exiled in his own land. You could only be exiled in your own land. So they took him out. Now, check this out. Like I told you before, it was about status. Even if he was a Creole, he had more privileges available, more than what? Even free blacks and those that were enslaved. Family, there was so many so-called black people running around. They just don't want to tell you they were American Indians, so they're going to call them black. How in the height of slavery you got all these black people running around here? But yet still they were enslaved. Somebody explain that to me, please. And slavery is booming. I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid they gave a lot of our people, but I ain't drink that Kool-Aid. Now, baptized Roman Catholic, Rilliex received his early education at private Catholic schools in Louisiana before traveling to Paris in the early 1820s to study École Centrale Paris, one of the top engineering schools in France. While École Centrale Norbert studied physics, mechanics, and engineering. He became an expert in steam engines and published several papers about the use of steam to work devices. These early explorations became the foundation of the technology he would later implement in his evaporator. At 24 in 1830, Rilliex became the youngest teacher at École Centrale, instructing in applied mechanics. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of read just a little bit of that. Okay, his father was a Frenchman and his mother was an American Aboriginal, but of course they tell you a black woman, you see what I'm saying? But we know the code language. Okay, I'm letting y'all know what it means. So that was Norbert Rilliex. Okay, the next person we're going to talk about is Jan. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me see what we have here. Okay, Jan. Okay. I hope you guys don't find this boring. Okay. I hope you really don't, because all this stuff is necessary to break the code and to break the cycle, all right, of these lies that are being promoted, okay, and that are being perpetuated on our people. Okay. So let me go ahead and share this. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here we are. All right. Jan. I hope I don't butcher his surname. Okay. Jan Matzeliger. All right. Biography, 1852 to 1889. All right. So I'm just gonna call him by his given name. Okay, the given name, the so-called first name. Okay, because the family name is always first. So I'm gonna call him by his given name, not the family name. All right. Jan was an inventor of Surinamese and Dutch descent, best known for patenting the shoe lasting machine, which made footwear more affordable. So everybody who's wearing a shoe right now, guess what? There's a so-called black man, skills and invention and patent. Okay. You're walking in our shoes. I'm going to repeat that. Anyone that's wearing a shoe today, they are walking in our shoes. If y'all don't know, now you know. Okay? Now, let us read, because reading is fun for the mental. Okay? His mother was an American Aborigine. Okay? Surinamese. You dig? Who was Jan? Jan settled in the United States in 1873 and trained as a shoemaker. In 1883, he patented a shoe-lasting machine that increased the availability of shoes and decreased the price of footwear. He died of tuberculosis on August 24, 1889. Knowing the history of the system, I wonder if it was tuberculosis, but I'm not the one to get into conspiracy theories, so I'm going to leave that alone. Okay. Early life. Jan was born on September 15th, 1852 in Paramaribo, Suriname, known at the time as Dutch Guyana or Guinea. Matzeliger's father was a Dutch engineer and his mother was Surinamese, all right? Showing a mechanical aptitude at a young age, Jan began working in machine shops supervised by his father at the age of 10. At 19, he left Suriname to see the world as a sailor on an East Indian merchant ship. In 1873, he settled in Philadelphia. Okay, invention of the lasting machine. After settling in the United States, Jan worked for several years to learn English as a dark-skinned man. Okay, as a dark-skinned man. And remember, whenever you hear, okay, I keep teach. You see, I want to teach you guys about what terms and what words meant in different eras. So when you start hearing these natives talking about, oh, well, they wasn't black, they were dark-skinned. Okay, that's code for saying that they were aborigines. You see what I'm saying? or they were mixed, but they had so-called black complexion. Knowing well that once you start calling yourself black, you take yourself and put yourself in a status, okay, of a dead individual. That's why I say these natives, they got to pay. They got to pay. They have to deal with that karma. You feel me? And that karma it's already happening anyway. You see what I'm saying? But like I said, the truth will prevail. All right. But I'm just giving you the code words. As a dark-skinned man, his professional options were limited, and he struggled to make a living in Philadelphia. In 1877, Jan moved to Lynn, Massachusetts to seek work in the town's rapidly growing shoe industry. He found a position as an apprentice in a shoe factory. Jan learned the cord weighting trade, which involved crafting shoes almost entirely by hand. Cord waiters made molds of customers' feet called last with wood or stone. The shoes were then sized and shaped according to the molds. The process of shaping and attaching the body of the shoe to its sole was done entirely by hand with hand lasters or lasters. This was considered the most difficult and time-consuming stage of assembly. Since the final step in the process was mechanized, the lack of mechanization of penultimate stage, the lasting, created a significant bottleneck. All right, let me go here. Jan set out to find a solution to the problem he discerned in the shoemaking process. He thought that there had to be a way to develop an automatic method for lasting shoes. He began coming up with designs for machines that could do the job. After experimenting with several models, he applied for a patent on a lasting machine. On March 20th, 1833, Jan received a patent number 2074-207 for his machine. The mechanism held a shoe on a last, pulled the leather down around the heel, set and drove in the nails, and then discharged the completed shoe. It had the capacity to produce 700 pairs of shoes a day, more than 10 times the amount typically produced by human hands. Jan lasting machine was an immediate success. In 1889, the Consolidated Lasting Machine Company was formed to manufacture the device, with Jan's receiving a large amount of stock in the organization. After Jan's death, the United Shoe Machinery Company acquired his patent, of course. All right. Death and legacy. Jan's shoes lasting machine increased shoe production tremendously. The result was the employment of more unskilled workers and the proliferation of low-cost, high-quality shoe footwear for people around the world. Unfortunately, Jan was able to enjoy his success for only a short time. He contracted tuberculosis again, just like the last dude, right? Now, family, is that a coincidence or what? We just spoke about Norbert Rilliex, died of a tuberculosis. Here we go, another man, not related, okay, died of a tuberculosis. That's why I tell you, when my spirit speak to me, I speak my mind. That's why I said I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but my spirit told me it was not tuberculosis. It was a conspiracy, okay? The man was killed. What is the coincidence? Family, I keep telling you, I don't make these things up. Okay? In 1886, and died on August 24th, 1889, at age 37 in Lynn. In 1991, the United States government issued a Black Heritage postage stamp in his honor. When we said fact check, we strive for accuracy and fairness. If you see something that doesn't look right, contact us, and that's it about Jan. Okay, all right, guys? They murdered. I'm just saying, that's my own opinion. Okay, I just want you to know when it's my opinion is they killed the man and took his patent. Okay? And that's what happened to a lot of our ancestors. They either killed them, sent them to jail, and took our land and took things that belong to us. Why? Because on the Salivita Matuus. Okay, if you become a felon, then you lose your rights of being a man or woman, so you're considered dead. So they could take everything that's yours. Open up your mind. That's why I teach. All right. All right. The next one we are going to go to is about a young woman. I'm going to read 2 articles about her, okay, to get 2 different perspectives. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to share my screen. Y'all think this beast system is a joke, huh? It ain't no joke, man. So we're going to talk about Grace Wisher, okay? Grace Wisher. Of course, they call her an African American, but I know better. And now that you know better, we have to start putting our people's story in context so that they could get their due diligence and credit as being Aborigines of the Americas. Okay, we got work to do. So let's talk about Grace Wisher. Okay, Grace Wisher, African American, helped make Star Spangled Banner. Okay, Grace Wisher, age 13, was an indentured servant in the home of flag maker Mary Pickersgill of Baltimore. So she was an indentured servant. All right. So that means that she wasn't considered to be a slave, so to speak. She was an indentured servant. All right. Pickersgill, who had taken over the business her mother started, was well known and highly regarded. The Pickersgill shop was responsible for making one of America's, well, let's say United States, because the United States is not America. You see, when I teach, I like to teach in the proper context. Okay, I will not give the United States the benefit of being called America. That's disrespectful to my ancestors. Okay, so I'm going to say United States. The Pickersgill shop was responsible for making one of the United States' most famous flags, the one that inspired the Star Spangled Banner, a flag for war. Numerous disagreements between the United States and Britain had led to the U.S. to declare war on Britain. Now, once again, I've already put that in its proper and factual perspective for y'all. All right. Let me just kind of rehash that a little bit. Right. And I want you to think. OK, if the United States at that time were fighting for their freedom from Great Britain, why would so-called white United States be fighting for their freedom from white Britain? Well, guess what, family? It wasn't white Britain then. The Britons were so-called black people, and the kings were so-called black kings who may have had white concubines, but the kings were definitely so-called black. That's why they were fighting for their freedom from their masters on the other side of the world. But they will not teach you that. Hence, there's a reason why there's no white history. If you dig too much, you will learn the truth. The British Navy, the mightiest in the world, okay, began lining up outside of Chesapeake Bay, threatening to halt shipping traffic into the port. Okay. Major General George Armistead was the U.S. Army commander at Fort McHenry at the mouth of Baltimore Harbor at the Chesapeake. He wanted to send a strong message that the United States was going to defend its harbors. One way to do this was to put up an oversized United States flag above Fort McHenry. Armistead knew just where to go for his flag. Mary Pickersgill, a flag maker. The request he made of Mary Pickersgill was for a garrison flag measuring 30 by 42 feet with 15 stars and 15 stripes, each star and stripe representing a state. It was a large flag, and he wanted it as soon as possible. With these instructions, Pickersgill called in all the help she could. Mary was joined by her elderly mother, 3 nieces, and a United States, well, I'm going to say American because most likely she was an Aborigine. American indentured servant named Grace because Grace was 13 at that time. There are some reports that a slave woman also helped. Okay. The flag they delivered 6 weeks later is the flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. For the complete story of making of the Star-Spangled Banner, you could click on that link right here. That's also in the description for you, for all of you, right? The flag has been restored by conservators of at the Smithsonian and now hangs in the United States History Museum in Washington, D.C. Mary Pickersgill became famous for having made that flag. The fact that she was aided by 2 American Aborigines, I'm not going to say African American because they were not, okay, has only come to light more recently. Though none of Pickersgill's flag making team has ever had such focus, it would be very difficult to tell much of the story about either Grace Wisher or the slave woman. Documentation of the lives of these American Aborigines has usually not been considered important, of course, because they wouldn't want you to think, well, hold up, how come if she was a slave from Africa, she was doing all that? They don't want you to put 2 and 2 together. So they have to leave our story out of his storybooks. Okay? So we have to dig for them. What historians do know about Grace Wisher is this. Wisher was the daughter of a mother too poor to support her children. She placed Grace at age 10 in an apprenticeship with Pickersgill. In return for teaching Grace a trade, Pickersgill gained a servant for 6 years. All right. And like I said, a lot of our ancestors, okay, they put their children in certain situations to escape the harshness of slavery. Okay. So they put them in adopted homes to become servants. All right. And that and Grace Wisher was one of those stories. All right. Now, American Aborigines contributed in many ways. Grace Wisher is far from alone in having been forgotten. Okay, in 2008, following the election of President Barack Obama, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi noted the Capitol was built on slaves. Okay, but they want you to think it is slaves from Africa. No, the Capitol was built on American Aborigines, and yes, some slaves that did come from Africa, certain parts of Africa, Britain, Scotland, Ireland, okay, Germany, all those people that came here, they were so-called black people, okay, indigenous people of those various lands who had never seen Africa. Their ancestors had never been to Africa. But they will not break it down to you like that. They will not chisel the information and give you the big picture. They just give you a puzzle and say, hey, take what we tell you, figure it out, figure these things out yourself. Okay? This sent journalists at PolitiFact scrambling to see what could be documented, while historians have been unable to detail much about the workers or who they were. What we do know now is that slaves helped build both the president's house, as the White House was known, and the Capitol House, the Capitol building, and probably innumerable other buildings as well. To keep the work done, the government pulled together all types of laborers, and in many cases, they paid slave owners for use of their slaves. All right, so I just wanted to kind of, once again, I'm not going to get into the Capitol building and all that. Just wanted to kind of read a little bit about, this young sister, and I'm going to give you another perspective from another article, but still about her. Okay, so let me just read that for you guys, and then we will conclude. Okay, yes, it was a war flag because it was considered a war flag because at that time the United States was looking for a flag to show that they wanted to kind of proclaim or make a statement against their masters or their owners in Britain, which were black kings at that time. Okay. So that the American Aborigine or American Indian girl who helped make the Star Spangled Banner. All right. I'm just going to read again from a different article. So we might get something different than what we read in the last one. 200 years ago, an American Indian girl made history literally. She was an indentured servant named Grace Wisher in the household of Mary Pickersgill. Helen Yoon and Miss Asantewa Bokyewa of the original F. Lewis Museum share her story. Mary Pickersgill is often credited with sewing the Star Spangled Banner, which flew over the Fort McHenry in Maryland and inspired Francis Scott Key to write our national anthem. Well, their national anthem, that in mind. All right. Less known is that Grace Wisher, an American Indian girl at just 13, also helped make the flag. It's another testament to the deeply rooted yet out unmentioned contributions of American Indians and, African descendants or European descendants to the very core of this corporation. All right, this is a fragment of the original Star Spangled Banner, but indenture was a waning practice in early 19th century Baltimore. Although Maryland law did allow for courts to take away children of American Indians who were considered lazy, indolent, and worthless. Family? Look at this again. I'm going to look at, isn't that what they call us today? You see, I like to look at these different sources to show you guys different perspectives and pull the information out. Let us read this part here again. Okay? Let us read that again, right here. Indenture was a waning practice in early 19th century Baltimore. Although Maryland law did allow for courts to take away children of what? They say African Americans, but we know better, who were considered lazy, indolent, and worthless free Negroes to bind their youngsters into apprenticeship. Orphans usually met a similar fate. Isn't that what child care services are here for? Taking our children, putting them in foster homes. Family, there's nothing new under the sun. They're just being called different names. But it has always been to subdue the original American Indian, which is the Negro de Terra. So once again, how in the height of slavery, all these Negroes running around here? Why is that? You see, it's contradicting what they're telling us, but they have to use all these coded terms to mislead our people. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the size and all that. I just wanted you to hear just that one part. Okay? Just that one part. But the link is in the description. You guys could go ahead and read the entire articles. All right, guys? I hope you found some value. He said, how do you spell the detailer part? I think it wasn't detailer, it was indolent. I hope that's what you're talking about. But let us look at the definition of that. Okay. Let me just pull that up. Remember, if you're reading, okay, on your computer or whatever the case may be, then all you have to do is highlight the word and do a Google search. And yes, Negro de Terra was considered the Negroes of the Americas. And Negro de Guinea was considered the Negroes of Africa. Just so y'all know. All right, Chris? Just wanted to kind of clear that up for you because I saw you had a question mark next to that. So let us look at that word, indolent. All right, let's go see what it means. Indolent means wanting to avoid activity or exertion, lazy. Okay, and they have similar or synonyms: lazy, ideal, loafing, work shy, shiftless, apathetic. You see what I'm saying? So basically, that's what it means. All right. All right, family. I hope you found some value in this. Once again, we have to know about our story and not learn or just believe everything that's being told about us. Okay. The next build I'm going to talk about James Beckworth. I'm going to talk about Jean Baptiste. I'm going to talk about the Chisholm Trail. So I'll be breaking down, those great American Aborigine stories that nobody's telling us. Okay. And we're going to look at the dates. So again, let it make sense to me. How is that slavery was going on, but you have all these so-called slaves that came on the bottom of a slave ships doing all these great things that y'all are not teaching our children. So when you start putting two and two together, okay, you go tell me and show me all. And again, I'm not here to slight anybody, right? But go show me all the so-called natives who claim to be the original people of this land. Go show me all these inventions that they have. But yet still, people who came from slave ships, in the bottom of slave ships, came from Africa, climbing trees in mud huts, and they calling them booty scratches and all this stuff, just happened to come into your land as a native, and we're doing all these things, but you here and you haven't done none of that. Okay, yeah. Who do you want us to, who are you trying to tell these stories? Not me. No. We are a brilliant people. And our African cousins are brilliant people as well. Let us stop allowing these people to put us down. You feel me? We got to stop doing that. Everything came from us. Whether it's from Africa, whether it's from the Moors, some of the Moors in Africa or Europe, whether it was from Britain, it doesn't matter where it was at. Whether it was the original Asians, don't matter where we were at. We gave the world everything that they're experiencing right now. We give it to them. So where's the respect? Where's the honor? So you see, we have to put our story in perspective. Stop allowing the system to teach that crap to our children. So when we come together, we got to come together as great people and not as people that came as slaves in the bottom of a slave ship. We're going to have to put the burden of proof on them. Show me the slave ships. Show me the manifesto. Prove it to me. I guarantee you can't prove I came here on no slave ship. It's really that simple, family. It's really that simple. Put the burden of proof on your accuser. You see what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. And watch them stumble. Give them the rope to hang themselves. That's it. But I could prove that they are not. See the difference? That's the difference. See, there's a reason why a lot of us are running into stumbling blocks when we're doing our family trees. It's because there wasn't a manifest of all these millions of slaves that came here. That was a lie. Because it would have had to have been recorded, because that was a business. Okay? But it wasn't recorded. Why? Because don't you think, I want y'all to think, don't you think if they had to really solidify, okay, the lie, don't you think they would have held the records to prove? Oh, I know one day these African slaves gonna talk about, oh, we ain't African. You know what I'm saying? So, let's hold on to these records. Let's make sure we have them slave ships in museums. Let's make sure we have the manifesto. Where's that? Because that's the only way to prove it. Why would you get rid of the only proof that you have to prove to say we are who you say we are? Where the proof at? But yet still, you could go back and find mummies of Egyptians. You could go back into the walls and look at the walls and see our ancestors on the walls. You could go back and look at the Sphinx, and you could go back and see all those big statues where they try to cut out the noses so you don't see the of Negroid feature. You could see all that. But you're trying to tell me a few years ago in the late 1700s, okay, that you don't have a slave ship to put in a museum? Who y'all trying to fool with that? Man, listen, if I know my mother probably wasn't listening, I would have used some colorful words. But I'm going to continue to keep it PG. All right. But I want to say some things, guys, but I'm going to just continue to keep it PG. All right. This is one platform you will come and hear the information without hearing all the profanity. Okay. So and that's not me anyway. Okay. I remember one time, you know, I did a video and I used the word ass. My mother got in my butt. Okay. My mother wanted to whoop my butt. I said, Mom, I apologize. Ass don't really mean this and that. That's how much respect I got for my mother. And you know what I mean? So, but guys, just wanted you to know once again, man, we got to stop believing the lies. Now, I know you guys, it's going to be hard to fathom. Well, Chief, what are you trying to tell me, Chief? Like, so you're trying to tell me the 12, 13, 20 millions they said that came here. That's not true. How is that even possible, Chief? Like, no, no, Chief, that's not true. Like, all humans originated in Africa, Chief. What are you telling me? That's what they taught us. Well, I'm here to tell you, human life did not originate in Africa. Okay? And they know that's true. You feel me? They know that. And yes, I'm telling you it's a lie. All these so-called millions of so-called black people that came into the Americas, that's a lie. And the ones that did come, they all were not from Africa. They were from all different parts of the world. Okay? Particularly, we have, like I said, Britain, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, different places, Portugal, okay? And the Asians that came here, okay, they were the ones that were used to mix in with us. But at the same time, they were used, even without the mixing, they were used to start taking the place of the Negroes as the American Indians. So the further back and you start looking at some of these pictures, what they would do is they would also paint their faces black. But when they took off their clothes, you would see the pale body. They are a lighter body. When they started lightening up the Indians, they would still paint their faces black and stay in the sun. But underneath their clothes, their body would be still have that pale, that pale, that pale look. So when you look at them in pictures, let me tell y'all something, family. I've done so much research, man. I'm exposing all of that because I even got the videos to prove it from the 1900s, like I told y'all before. Okay? The face is pure so-called black, but you could tell it's painted. But the body has a little, pale tint to it. All right? So that was the process, okay, of taking away the Negro de Terra, okay, and all the Negroes who are aborigines in this land and start replacing them. Because why? All the manifesto and letters and documents, okay, that all these colonizers came here, they gave a description of the people that they saw. So back then, they just couldn't put pale Indians in our place. That wouldn't make sense. So it had to happen gradually. The first thing we want to do, okay, we are going to get these Asians, okay? We are going to bring them here and start planting them as the original people. And then we are going to start whitewashing them. And that's how you are able to see these so-called natives that you see here today. Now, let me ask you a question. Why, okay, would every so-called Indian, American Indian, okay, especially in the United States, would just paint their faces black? And you're not in war, even in peace. You're just chilling, your face is painted in black. Why is that? Because you're hiding something. You're hiding something. This was what it was, well orchestrated, well sought out. And trust me, they had help from some of our ancestors. And even them, they got their karma coming to them. But it's crazy, man. No, Terrence said, right, they know that. And my thing is, why is it so hard for our true people can't? I guess that they can't understand. Because again, family, because of the education. Okay? Because of the education. Remember, it's called cognitive dissonance. All right? And basically what that means is it doesn't matter what you tell somebody. It doesn't matter how much truth you show them. Okay? If it's challenging their core belief of something that they hold on to be the truth, then cognitive dissonance kicks in and they even make you their enemy. That's how serious the indoctrination and the brainwashing of our people are. Okay? You will have real Africans come in and tell you, you ain't African. But then they would turn around and say, oh, well, oh, these Africans are hating on us. No, they're not hating on you. They're telling you the truth. And I will forever tell people this. I don't have anything against anybody. Okay, I just want our truth to be told. That's it. But every time we are telling our truth, somebody want to say it's because you are hating somebody else. No. How come when other people telling their lie, it's not because they're hating us? How come that's accepted as the truth? But when we tell the truth, then, oh, well, you hating this person. You hating that person. You hating that group. No, I'm not going to fall for the guilt. I'm not going to do that. Okay? So I gave y'all 2 videos this evening. Okay? One, could help you trace your family tree, and then just letting you know about some of our people. All right? Some of the great things that we accomplished and we created and we did. Okay? Because we're not being taught that. But even more so, I'm going into these people's lives and telling you about them more so to connect the dots. Okay, the time when all that was happening, and you telling me that we were coming here, by the millions on a slave ship. How is all that possible? It's just not possible. It's contradictory. And I'm talking about everything. Music. Okay? Music. Every genre of music we gave the world. Okay? Every genre of music we gave the world. It doesn't matter what it is. See, the world want to be us, but they don't want us to be us. That's crazy. That's crazy. That just hit me. The world want to be us, but they don't want us to be us. The world love us, but they don't want to love us as who we are. They want to love us as who they want us to be. Family, this is deep. But it's crazy at the same time. They admire us, but they don't want to admire us as who we are, meaning that who we were. They want to admire us as who they made us to be. And a lot of these people, they sleep at night. They rest at night, okay, with the blood of our ancestors on their hands. And then when we speak up, oh, well, it happened such and such, and I wasn't there. Well, I wasn't there either, but it happened to my ancestors. And I'm still here. And that's true. A lot of us don't want to be us because they have accepted the lies of the false identity. But you know what? The beauty about this is this, right? It's not going to take a whole lot of us to restore our birthright. You see, that's the beauty about this. Because guess what? Even if it's just 3 people that's doing what I'm doing now, that's calling out to our ancestors. Even if it's just 3 people, guess what? All they needed was our permission, our consent to intervene. You see what I'm saying? That's all they needed. So now they have it. Watch what's going to happen. Mark my words. Okay? All they were waiting is for their children to awaken their spirits in them. Because our ancestors aren't dead. Yes, the avatar, the body is in the ground. But guess what? It comes right back to us from the trees. Their DNA is in the oxygen that we breathe. Family, we are the ones keeping this whole thing alive. Because DNA don't die. The body goes back into the ground. The DNA is in the body. It goes into the trees. It goes into the animals. A recycle of life. Life is 360. It's always ongoing. So just even the physical, there's no such thing as physical death. Because we take it right back from them in the fruits that we eat. Okay? The plants that we eat. The oxygen that we breathe. And guess what? Their spirits are with us always. However, they cannot just intervene, like I said, without our consent, because universal laws, they have to respect free will. So it is my will that my ancestors intervene on my behalf. You have to give them permission to intervene on your behalf. They will not just do it because there is order. Whether it's an order of war or it's an order of peace, there has to be order in that realm. So I always ask my ancestors to intervene on my behalf and give me victory. Okay? So it's up to you to deal with your ancestors, communicate with them the way that you so chooses, or the way that you so choose, rather. Okay? So guys, I'm about to get out of here. I'm about to go to the store and get me some fruits. Yo, today I had such a huge salad. I'm telling y'all, like, I didn't eat anything all day. I broke my fast because I knew I was going to do 2 videos. So I broke my fast I think about 7 or 8 p.m. All right. And I made a huge salad. Like, I was surprised I ate it all. Like, I was just craving that. My body was just, man, I wanted it so bad. Family, I'm telling y'all, eating like that is beautiful. Okay, it's not expensive. It's a whole lot cheaper to eat that way than to eat bad. I promise you that. Okay, but it was just so good, man. So I'm about to go get me some fruits right now and a little bit of cashews, and I'll be all right. So guys, don't forget, go to the website. Let me put it in the link again, www.ipnan.org. And guys, please show your support. Okay, please show your support. It's definitely very much appreciated. And like I said, I have a few more people that we're going to go through and we're going to talk about. Got a couple of other things coming. I'm going to tighten up on a little bit about law, which I've done already, but we'll talk a little bit about law. All right, we'll talk about a few things, and then we'll work on putting membership for our organization together so we could start putting some things together. All right, because we got some very, very important moves to make. All right, very, very important moves to make. All right, so I love y'all. Okay, I really, really, truly do. I mean, you know, people say, and I do care. People say, you know, people only care when they show you that they care. All right, and that's all I do. I care. I love my people. It doesn't mean that I dislike anybody else. That's not what it means. Okay, I love everybody, but I'm in love with my people. There's a difference. Okay, so I'm gonna say that again. I love everybody, but I'm in love with my people. I'm in love with who we are. I'm in love with who we were. Even with who we are in the state of the confusion, I still love my people because I know we are going to come out of that. Because the first became the last, and the last will become the first. American Aborigines, aka American Indians, aka the Negros de Terra, aka the Negroes of America. Guess what? It's our time. And there's nothing that anybody could do to stop that. Y'all have a good continuation.